two kids go to college. One finished, one didn't, but they're doing good. But what this information wasn't, we really didn't look for it, and this is great stuff coming at us, being available to the public, and just taking the time to come out and setting up this. This is fantastic. Appreciate you
Thank
coming
you. And
here.
I'd also say it wasn't available for a lot of us. And I think one of the things that we have to realize is that we're in the middle of a paradigm shift. The way in which we think of financing education, what the value of that education is, and how we go about fulfilling the dreams of pursuing that education have drastically changed over the past 10 to 15 years. And it is not uncommon for there not to be someone that has come forward to say, well, now the norms have changed and this is what we should do. And even though you did those things in the past. So we're in an interesting time where we have to take these opportunities to actually provide the type of information that, even though we may not have seen it when we were younger, if we can pass it on to somebody else, it helps out. And fortunately, that's the way that we can do this, slow and steady, the same way we got into the problem. But I think by focusing on maybe stopping some of the waterfall coming down, if we can at least stop the flow of people that are walking into the student debt crisis, it will give us enough time to actually alleviate some of the burdens of the people that are dealing with it. So maybe this is the prescription to kind of give us some preventive care along the way, so that way we can deal with the actual crisis and deal with the ramifications as we get to that point later on.
Thank you. Thank you again.
No problem.
Thank you.
Very welcome. Do the panel have any questions? Council Kroll?
Thank you, Chairwoman Mahoney. A couple rounds. George, obviously appreciate your presence here this evening. You're obviously a student of, what the industry. I want to also thank Councilor Chairwoman Mahoney for, leading the charge, and also Quincy Access Television. And I say, a huge shout out to Quincy Access Television. And I'm going to thank Michael when he comes up too. But for allowing us the option and opportunity to disseminate information to the at-home viewer. I'm thrilled to see some folks joining us here in the chamber this evening. And, a couple things come to mind as I sort of walk through your presentation with you. I think, A, it's really positive that we're creating an environment to talk through, the issue. B, I think, obviously an hour is not enough to provide a, silver bullet solution to the issue. But it's amazing to me, and I'm going to ask you a question in a moment, how far-reaching this particular issue is, and in my opinion is almost, suffocating the generation, of the future. And I say that in a sense of, some of the topic that you covered here this evening, maybe not having as much information up front, to make the best decision possible with the end in mind, but also for that would be for the student, but also for the for the parent who's involved in the decision-making process. And what I've kind of engaged in various conversations, throughout my constituency, parents who are forced to make financial decisions based on, their child's student loan debt obligations, which could include things such as refinancing a mortgage or delaying retirement, contributing to a retirement plan. It's just much more than the actual cost of education. I feel like the side effects are, that reverberates throughout the economy, and it's just good to be able to kind of get the information out there. I mean, in your travels, and I know you do a lot of these sort of talks and speaking engagements, do you find that there's a lot of this going on throughout, like, government agencies such as local city councils throughout Massachusetts? Are you seeing a lot of this, or?
Yeah, I would say Massachusetts is doing a tremendous amount of work to at least create the platforms for advocacy for education, not only financial education, childhood literacy, making sure that we do as much as we can to limit student debt as much as we can do in terms of education, so that way we're able to better position ourselves in terms of income equality. And so there's a couple of different places where you can go into when you talk about financial education and downstream impacts. The one common thread